Well, hello there. Okay, read something today. Tell a lie. It was yesterday. Regarding a show that we have here in Great Britain called Britain's Got Talent. I've mentioned it before, and I will counter that claim with the same comment I made a couple of weeks ago, when I would suggest Britain most certainly hasn't, especially if you watch that show anyway. Yes, there's talent here, but Britain's Got Talent is as following now in the illustrious footsteps of X Factor, another Simon Cowell vehicle, where we're happy to put drivel on the TV, or what they would call novelty acts, because for some reason, us Brits, I say us, I certainly don't, like novelty acts and like people making a fool of themselves. And they like feeling sorry for those that have got no talent. Whereas me, I would much prefer to watch talent and hope that the talent ends up winning the show. But we've had a history, as I say, from X Factor to Britain's Got Talent of putting drivel on there. And all X Factor and Britain's Got Talent have been a vehicle for Mr. Cowell and his other cohorts as judges to look good in the media and to make a few quid. And I was thinking of Britain's Got Talent, and it made me think of the daddy of all shows, the reality TV contest, if you like, that towers above them all just without even trying. And that would be American Idol, an absolutely fantastic show. Yes, Mr. Cowell had his hands all over that initially, till he went off and did his X Factor in America and fell flat on his face. And although he was reasonably good in both shows, I mean, people in America just liked him. They like us Brits for some reason. They believe that we tell the truth. Not all of us do, and certainly not Mr. Cowell. Every year on American Idol, every year on X Factor, every year on Britain's Got Talent. This is the best year we've ever had. It's never been better than this year. This is the best year of all. This is the year we're going to introduce a twist. We're going to have a twist on the show. Constantly changing things to try and get more viewers, but more often than not, just upsetting contestants. Simon Cowell was just a dumbed down Pete Waterman. And in America, you don't really know Pete Waterman, but he was every bit as good as Mr. Cowell, or better. But unfortunately, he wasn't quite as PC as Mr. Cowell. He said some things probably shouldn't have done, but he was better than Mr. Cowell. But anyway, you liked him, America. Britain still likes him, though God only knows why. He's great at self-publicism, is that the right word? Maybe it's not. And he's pretty good at making a few good on the back of certain bands. More about that in a moment. But I would suggest for all those bands he's made a couple of quid for, and a lot for himself, he's let a hell of a lot more people down. A lot of people that had deals with him that have got nothing from it and nothing from him. And when you're not making money for Simon, you get dumped like a stone. Anyway, we'll go through Britain's Got Talent. No, we won't. It's crap. We know that. We'll part that. We'll go through X Factor, Great Britain. We'll quickly look at X Factor USA, although it didn't last long. And then we'll go to the daddy of them all, as I say, American Idol. I'll give you my thoughts on all three. You know that's what I do. I'll give you more thoughts on American Idol than anything else, because, as I say, it is the daddy of them all. I'll give you my thoughts on some of the contestants over the years, on some of the pundits, panellists, whatever you might want to call them, and some of the pundits and panellists this side of the pond. And I'll tell you how I feel. There's a show there to be made that is definitely better than Britain's Got Talent, definitely better than X Factor, definitely better than X Factor USA, won't be quite as good as American Idol for two reasons, but will be better than all the rest. And if anybody's interested, all they need to do is email me or let me know, and I'll tell you what it will be. But let's go with X Factor Great Britain first. Ran for 10, 12, 14 seasons, I don't know how long. In the end, they finally got found out and have been dumped. I'm surprised it didn't happen much earlier. We had one great artist that's come from the whole series, one who had a really great voice, called Leona Lewis. She had 3 or 4 decent hits. She had one brilliant hit called Bleeding Love, but not much else. Great voice. Some would say she's a bit of a one-trick pony with that high, is it falsetto voice or whatever it may be. That was a stock singing voice. That was the bit that set her apart from the rest. That was the best act they've had on there. The biggest successes would have been One Direction and Little Mix. Some would tell me they're good. I would suggest none of them are particularly good, but fantastic marketing. And they turned up at the right time. The world was after a new boy band. They got one. The world, or at least Britain at least, was after a new girl band. They got one. One Direction, have they done any great songs in my eyes? No, but I'm not in that marketplace. Little Mix, maybe a couple. I can't believe I'm saying that, but maybe a couple, not so bad. But no great talent throughout both the bands. And I've got to confess, Harry Styles is becoming a megastar now. I don't get it, because I don't think he's that talented. I think he's very clever. I think the people behind him are very clever. And it's weird, because when he first came on The X Factor, I said to the people I watched it with, he's pretty good, he's got something about him. Within 3 or 4 weeks I said, no, he's not as good as I thought. I thought he had a better voice than that. And that's what I maintain. But, as my initial thoughts were, he's got something about him, he's proved that he does have something about him. And he's making his way in the entertainment business and doing very, very well for himself. Is he a global superstar? Yes. Does he deserve to be? Questionable. Does he deserve to be on the talent he's got? Oh, certainly not. He's not got that much to be a global superstar, but he's making it work for him. So, good luck to him, I suppose, but he's not my cup of tea. The X Factor Great Britain, I'm looking down at notes every now and again, so you'll have to excuse me. The X Factor Great Britain, for me, had struggled for a few years, but they really hit the bottom of the barrel, and it might have been about season 6, season 7, something like that. As I say, in Great Britain, we love drivel. We absolutely can't, we lap it up. There was that foreign fella with the long hair, I can't remember his name. There was good old Rylan. There was a few of them. They were just novelty acts, and they've got on. I don't know, but they have. They kept getting too far in the show. They should have been voted out weeks previous, but they carried on. And this year, they had a young lady in there called Lucy Jones, who was very, very good. Without a shadow of a doubt, the best act in the whole of the X Factor that year. One night, she got in the bottom 2, and she was against a world-class band called Jedward. Oh, world-class. All the talent in the world. Brilliant, brilliant 2-piece band. Unbelievable. And this night, Mr. Cowell in his... I don't know what the word would be. Anyway, Mr. Cowell decided this night that if anyone was going to go home, it was going to be old Lucy and not Jedward. He liked Jedward. He obviously could see he'd make a few quid, and he knew the Brits liked idiots, and Jedward were 2 idiots. And lo and behold, she gets voted off. She goes home. So she comes 8th. She's the best in the show. She comes 8th. That was a blueprint for what was to come, because when he took the show over to America, the X Factor, in the first season, we had a young lady called Melanie Amaro. Now, I think the way it works is you had loads of auditions in different towns, just like you did in the American Idol, and then I think they got the top 20 or top 40 through to live shows where they sing off against one another. It could have been 20, it could have been 40, I can't remember. That year, what they decided was they picked the top 20 and top 40, and old Melanie wasn't even in it. And then just before they started the live acts, he introduced another one of his twists, if memory serves, and the twist was they was going to invite one act through to the top 20 or top 40 that hadn't made the 20 or 40. And I think they give people a choice of 3, if I remember right, but I might be wrong about that. I might be wrong. My memory keeps saying he's bad. But anyway, they picked old Melanie. She got brought back in. Lo and behold, after not making the top 20 or top 40, however many was in the live shows, she went on and won it. Now, some would say, wasn't Simon clever? Bringing her back because she was that good, she actually won it. Cleverer people might say, if she was that good, and she's come from nowhere, from left field, and beat the whole top 20 or top 40 that they picked, how on earth could she go on and win it? They've picked 20 or 40 people that are better than her. How could they be that wrong? Some may also say, let's say they did it just to garner more viewers. So people would think, oh my goodness, she's gone out, how come she's not made it? But they knew, just before it went live, they were going to bring her in anyway. Now, it's a nice ploy, and it might have got more viewers. But I would suggest it's not very far in that young girl that thinks she's out and isn't going to make it and isn't going to realise her dreams, suddenly, from being out, he's back in it. An alternative might have been she knew from the outset she was going to be invited in at the end. But again, if that was the case, That's not very nice, is it? That's a bit naughty. Anyway, we'll never know the true story behind it, but all I would say is she wasn't in the top 20, top 30, top 40, whatever it may have been, and all of a sudden she gets invited in, she goes and wins it. So I would say Mr. Cowell is so far off the money, he obviously doesn't know what he's doing and what he's talking about. So anyway, the X Factor Britain, gone. Gone from our screens, maybe for good, maybe not. The year Lucy Jones went out, that really did it for me. She should have won it, she came 8th. That says all you need to know about X Factor GB. X Factor USA, I think it got 2 seasons, it might have got 3, and then binned. Why did it get binned? Because it was crap compared to American Idol. And also because its main judge over at least 2 of those years, I think it was a young lady called Britney Spears. I don't want to be getting on the hating Britney Spears bandwagon, and I don't hate her by the way, but I've got to say, of all the judges I've ever seen in any talent contest, Britney, if they did a golden raspberry for it as they do for films, Britney would win the golden raspberry. She was crap. Crap with a capital C, absolutely dreadful. Now, you've got to say, watching from the outside, she looked like she had problems whilst it was being filmed. When I say problems, as in mental health problems and what have you. But if that was the case, she shouldn't have even been on there. If she didn't have problems, she may say she didn't have, then I've just got to say she was absolutely crap. Absolutely awful. That didn't help his cause. He took a presenter, I think it was for season 1, over from Great Britain. Was it Gethin Jenkins? It may not have been. I get mixed up. Anyway, whoever he took over was awful. He didn't know what to do with his hands. He was always his hands were all over the place. That didn't help Mr. Cowell. He had a guy on there called L.A. Reid. He was pretty good. I didn't know him, but he was pretty good. But on the whole, it was a crap show. It got canned. American Idol. Okay, the daddy of them all, as I say. Brilliant, brilliant show. We'll go for presenters there first. Let's look at presenters. Probably the worst he ever had that I seen was Mariah Carey. Big global superstar. Crap as a presenter. It started from its infancy with Randy Jackson, who was pretty good. Let's see who else we had. I should know all these, but I don't. We had Randy Jackson, we had Paula Abdul, and we had Mr. Cowell. Abdul, she wasn't bad, but way, way over the top. As I say, Cowell wasn't bad. The Yanks loved him, but they didn't know better. Waterman in Great Britain was his mentor and was better than him, but you got Cowell. Randy Jackson, not too bad. They've had bundles of presenters over the years. As I say, the worst for me by a country mile was Mariah Carey. The better ones were, now bear in mind, I missed the first 2 seasons and I've not watched it for the last 4 or 5. When it went off the screens in Britain, I stopped watching it. I know you can find it in places, but I've not bothered looking. So I've not watched the last 4 or 5 seasons. I'm sure it's still a great, great show. First 2 seasons I missed. I know Kelly Clarkson won season 2, I think it was. A brilliant act. Brilliant act. I know if I'd have been watching it, she'd have been who I'd be voting for, even though I didn't see the season. But best presenters I've seen, Keith Urban was very, very good. Harry Connick Jr., very, very good. Ellen DeGeneres, the talk show host, surprisingly very, very good. Really good. We got introduced, I say we, my family, because I'd never heard of the lady before, Cara DioGuardia. Never seen her before, didn't know who she was. Researched her since, but didn't know her at the time. Brilliant. An absolutely fantastic pundit. One of the best I've ever seen. And then we go on to the best pundit of all time. X Factor Britain, X Factor America. Pop Idol Britain. Britain's Got Talent Britain, and everywhere else. American Idol anywhere. This was the best I've ever seen in any of the shows. Old Steven Tyler. That's it. Steven Tyler from Aerosmith fame. The best I've ever seen by a country mile. For all those that think Simon Cowell is the best and can't be touched, I would suggest you go at any one season that Tyler did and watch it from start to finish. He knocks Cowell into a cocktail. He's miles better. Miles better. And then singers. Who did we have acts-wise? Well, the best singer I've ever seen on any of the series, be it America or Great Britain, and she wasn't widely thought of as the best, but I think she's the best I've ever seen, was a lady called Candice Glover. She's the best singer I've ever seen. I don't think she's made it massive. Might have had that LP out, but not really made it. I've never heard of her since. But I thought she had a fantastic voice. An act that is very underrated because she never won it. It's all women for me tonight, funnily enough. Was a lady called Crystal Bowersox. She was absolutely brilliant. Should have walked her year. Should have absolutely walked it. Come second, but by far the best in her year. One of the best that's ever been on there. Debut LP was called Farmer's Daughter. The title track of that LP is fantastic. I bought that LP, and that song especially was brilliant, and it was a great LP. I need to look at more of her stuff, because today, funnily enough, I went online searching the name, because I'd forgotten her name. It's awful, I know, but I'd forgotten her name. And I see she had 3 or 4 LPs out. I need to buy them all. I heard another couple of songs that were absolutely sensational. Great voice, proper artist. She really is an artist. Crystal Bowersox, great artist. And the best acts I've ever seen on X Factor, I'd say Britain's Got Talent, but I never watched that. American Idol, the best by an absolute country mile. A great voice, not the greatest, but a great voice. Great looks, great performer, great vocal range, powerful voice, and a massive body of work, but every song brilliant. I mean, the lady doesn't do a bad song. The best act for me by an absolute country mile, it isn't even close, will be Carrie Underwood. Carrie Underwood is fantastic. Got her first 3 or 4 LPs, need to get more. Seen her once live in Great Britain when she did the Country to Country in London there. A wonderful act, got to see her again. The best by a country mile. I absolutely love her. The wife does. I've got 3 kids, all the kids do. She's brilliant. And that basically is the whole shooting match in a nutshell. But what I will say is, for all X Factor's gone now in Great Britain, for all we've still got Britain's Got Talent, and it's proven it hasn't, I still believe there's talent here. And I believe there's a show that can be made that could come close to American Idol. It won't beat it, and I'll tell you the 2 reasons why in a minute, but I know of a great presenter for it who I've not yet spoken to. I know a brilliant head judge who would head judge it, who I have spoken to and would be happy with the gig, who would be happy to do it. And I know of a fantastic person who would be as good as, no he wouldn't be, he would be better than Steven Tyler. Now Steven Tyler being the best I've ever seen, we've got somebody over here that would do the same kind of job as Steven Tyler, but that little bit better, who again I've not approached. But if anybody's interested, any TV execs looking in America or Great Britain, or anybody that knows anybody, just give them my name, get them to drop a thing on the site here. There's an email address, because I've got a show that's better than them all, apart from American Idol. Why can't it beat American Idol, you're saying? 2 reasons, and only 2. Number 1 is we don't have a chap called Ryan Seacrest. He is the daddy. He is brilliant. He is a top presenter. The guy we've got over here, old Dermot, it's not that bad, but he isn't in Ryan Seacrest's ballpark. Although I have got somebody that could probably be better than him, as I say, that could do a better job than our fella, although not quite what Ryan Seacrest can do. And number two is the biggie, the real biggie. I did not know this person until a few seasons in. I didn't know who he was. I've looked at him since, didn't know who he was at all. And the first time I came across him, I thought, oh my God, this guy is brilliant. Now, you all know him in America. You'll know him. Us British will always might not, but the Americans will. I've got to say his name correctly. I know his name. I think it's pronounced Iovine. Jimmy Iovine. I'm pretty sure it's right. Jimmy Iovine, genius. Absolute genius. He's the guy that critiques people, that helps people along. If he tells you you're good and you do him right, you know you're spot on. If he tells you you're missing a beat there and you're not right, you've got something wrong about you, you've got to take it on board and learn from it, because he is, as I say, spot on. We don't have anyone to your level, Jimmy. We don't. You're brilliant. You're probably, across all the shows I've just mentioned, you're the best single person I've seen on any of them, even better than Steven Tyler. Absolutely brilliant. So that is the only 2 reasons why we can't quite match American Idol, but we can do better than X Factor. So comments down below. If you agree, let me know. If you don't, let me know. Thumbs up, thumbs down. They're all welcomed. If you want to subscribe, I'd love you to. My favourite number in the world, and I don't know why, is 9. Guess how many subscribers I've got at the moment? Spot on. 9. I could do with more. See, I've not publicised it. I need to. I know I need to. But if you like what you hear, subscribe. And click whatever you click so as you know when everything's coming out. I do 2 or 3 a day. All varying subjects. There'll be loads of things many of you don't like that you've no interest in. But there'll be the other thing that you have. But have a listen. See what you think. Have a look at the one to do with gender I did yesterday. It's had 2 views. I can't believe it. I think it's one of the best I've done. A lot won't agree with me on it. Gender's a massive hot potato at the moment. But I really think what I've said is spot on. And I think the people that are doing what I'm talking about on the gender one, I think they're wrong. I think they're out of order. They're making some big mistakes there. So if you get the chance, have a look at that one. But anyway, hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, great. If you've not, great. I'm not bothered. That's my views on American Idol.